Have you looked back at your life and saw what looked like God's punishment was actually His provision? Yeah, me too. Let's talk about it. Barry Smith here, author, husband, father, pastor of 25 years, and a guy who has run from God repeatedly. Sometimes it was blatant, and other times it was a gradual slide. But when I really ran from God, I mean like in the exact opposite direction of where His plan for me was, there were huge issues I faced. And what I found was what looked like God's punishment against me was actually Him providing His grace and mercy in my life. Maybe you faced a tough breakup, or you lost a high-paying job, or maybe you had to face your demons right in the eyes. Over the last few videos, we saw that people run from God for many reasons. They have the fear of missing out, or maybe they just don't trust God. Sometimes people run from God because they confuse God with the local church. They get burnt by the church for whatever reason, and then they run. And when they run from God, they run to the strangest, most dangerous, and self-destructive places. Places where outsiders look at where they're running and say, "What are you doing?" And they eventually self-destruct because they run from the source of wisdom and truth and unconditional love and their source of overall purpose. We also saw that when people run from God, they almost always hurt those in closest proximity to themselves. Today, I want to look at what God does when people run from God. Because many think that God gets angry with us because we run from Him, or that maybe He's going to get even with us, especially when we do things that hurt others. And we might even deserve that punishment, yet God actually surprises us with His goodness, even when we're in the midst of our rebellion. This is amazing stuff. Look at Jonah chapter 1, verse 12. "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied, "and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Jonah's thinking, listen, there's no reason for all of us to die. It's my bad that you guys are in danger. You're going to suffer just because of being around me, and I'm sorry for that. Just throw me overboard. Look at verse 13. "Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried to the Lord, 'O Lord, please do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, O Lord, have done as you please.' Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord," "and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to Him." With this catastrophic storm bearing down on them, these sailors became believers. And they're like, "Okay, what's your God name again, Jonah? I mean, come on, he's obviously the man, and we don't want to upset him anymore." And at this point, Jonah learned something new about God. It's something we all eventually learn. When you run from God, God doesn't chase you down. God waits for you. God knew how this whole thing was about to play out. See, God wasn't up in heaven going, "Hey, has anybody seen Jonah? He was just here and I took a smoke break and now he's gone." No, first of all, I'm doubtful that God smokes, unless it's some heavenly cigar of some type, but that's another story. Anyway, there was this big old fish swimming around in the Mediterranean Sea that just happened to decide to go in a direction he probably never swam before. And that big old fish looked up and saw all that choppy water and the storm, and he's thinking, "Man, it's horrible weather up there. I should go lower to get away from the storm." But just before he took the plunge to the depths of the ocean, he went up to the surface for one more big gulp of air. Verse 17. "But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. And that's how God provided. It's unconventional to say the least, but there's something so special and creative and unusual about the way that God provides for us. For Jonah, God provided the storm. God previously provided the lot to fall on Jonah, meaning he's the guilty one, and God provided a huge fish as a rescue source for Jonah. And Jonah spent 3 unbelievable days and nights in the belly of a gargantuan fish. Do you know why? Because of the unconditional love that God showed to Jonah, even in the midst of his turning his back on God. And that's how God operates. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't chase you down. He steps into your mess. He steps into your circumstances and into your turmoil, and God provides because God is our provider, even when we turn our back on Him. And do you know why God would allow you to face your unbelievable consequences? Do you know why God would allow your marriage to almost completely unravel? Why He'd allow you to totally be alienated from your kids? Why He seems to ignore your prayers, waiting for you to come to the end of yourself? Listen, this is important. It's not to pay you back. It's to bring you back. to bring you back to the love and the grace that you actually turned your back on and ran away from. God is loving and kind and gracious and so very patient with us, even when we're awful to Him and those who love us. Don't think that your problematic circumstances is God getting mad at you or getting even with you. That's not how He works. Instead, He provides. Sometimes that provision might look suspect, to say the least, like a storm, like getting thrown overboard, or a huge fish coming to swallow you up. It might look like punishment, but it's not. It's God showing up in the midst of your rebellion to get you back on track and re-engaged with His love and mercy and plan for your life. So let's just be real honest today and get into the weeds of your life. Could you be honest with yourself and say that you are definitely running from Him, from God, running from His plan, running from His people, defying your parents and loved ones who see how your behavior reveals that you're being self-destructive to yourself and those you love? If so, you're not alone. We've all been there. You're a runner. It's okay. Maybe there's an area of your life that you're running from God. Or maybe you can see now how God wasn't chasing you down to get you, and He wasn't mad at you. He was waiting for you to bring you back, not to pay you back. Is that you? Some of you have some gut-wrenching stories and pain in your life. You lay in bed at night miserable. You know that a change needs to happen, but you haven't taken steps to get out of the storm. Don't wait for a fish to swallow you up. Turn the boat around and get back to God. You can feel God working on you right now, but you just can't seem to ask Him for help. And in turn, you're facing the consequences of your stupidity, frankly. And you're thinking, why in the world did I run here? How did I let this happen? How am I going to get out of this? I don't want to wait until my marriage completely unravels or my kids are grown. I want to stop running right now. I don't want to run anymore. If that's you, then just stop running. Only you can stop the cycle with God's help and provision. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is it time to stop running? Do it today. You'll be so glad that you did. And in the next video, we're going to move on to Jonah chapter 2 and see how to run to God instead of running from Him. And as always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It helps us get the word out there. And hit that big red button. It helps keep this channel going. I'd appreciate it. And if you like our stuff, consider supporting us with a tip on PayPal or a tax-deductible donation at YouChoose.Community. The links are both below. So right now, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, ding, and share this thing, because no doubt someone you know probably needs to hear this. And if you're ready to stop running from God, let me know in the comments below, and I'll pray for you, I promise. Till next time, God bless.